Thank you for joining us today. My name is Susan Evans, and I'm honored to welcome you to today's webinar featuring our caregiver experts, Monica Moore, Lisa Bricker, Melissa Long, and Tami Anastasia. These women will have an honest conversation with two couples that together have been married more than 100 years. What makes them unique is their spouse has dementia. Gerda and Peter Saunders are from Utah, and Dan and Lois are from Oregon. We will begin with these couples sharing a story about themselves and then have a roundtable conversation. A copy of today's webinar will be delivered to your inbox in the next few days for you to share with friends and families. We will also utilize the live Q&A function during the webinar. Please submit your questions. Thank you, Kensington, for supporting these powerful educational events in our aging community. I was first introduced to the Kensington team in 2015 when our family made the difficult decision to move my father into Kensington in Northern California. He had Alzheimer's disease. It was the best decision we made. It gave my parents back a little bit of their relationship and certainly my relationship back with my mother and father. Join me in welcoming Monica, Lisa, Melissa, and Tami. I think everybody's on screen. I'm so excited. We also have Gerda and Peter and Lois and Dan. I'm going to go ahead and start with Monica Moore. Could you share with us a few words about yourself?
Of course. First of all, hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Monica Moore. I work at the Mary S. Easton Center for Alzheimer's Research and Care at UCLA. I work with our families. I manage 9 different caregiver support groups and do our community education, really always with the focus of trying to help people find good doctors, good support, and good education along the way. So we're thrilled to be able to be here at Kensington. Thank you so much for having me.
And Lisa Bricker.
Hello, everyone. It's really an honor, as always, to be here with you. My history is my husband had Alzheimer's starting at 55, and it took 7 years to get a diagnosis. And it was such a confusing journey. It was 15 years in total as well, that it made an advocate out of both of us. We were both advocates in the beginning. And it was out of that, I started a company called Gently Guided, and I'm an Alzheimer's and dementia placement specialist, and we cover Greater Los Angeles. So it's really, really, as I said, I also lead a support group. I'm a little bit nervous and to be here with you all today for some reason. Normally I'm not, and I'll get on the pace, but happy to be here. Thank you.
Give yourself a break because both Monica and Lisa are in Southern California or directly impacted by the fires. So we're giving you a break today for sure. And Melissa Long, share with the audience the great big award you just got, please.
So my name's Melissa Long. I'm the Director of Education and Support at Insight Memory Care Center over on the East Coast. So it's the evening for us, but welcome to everybody, whatever time zone you're in. The award she's mentioning, I was just honored in December as the Dementia Educator of the Year nationally through the National Certification Board for the Certified Dementia Practitioner Training. So that was what she was relating to. But Insight Memory Care, we're a nonprofit. We've been around for 41 years. We are a dementia day center. We also have early stage programs. We do care from early stage all the way to hospice care. We have over 20 support groups that we do, memory cafes, lots of education, obviously. And so a lot of our stuff's online. COVID kind of led us that way. So even though we're on the East Coast, you can still engage in our programs as well. So thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here again.
She's not nervous. She was just on the billboard of Times Square. So anyway, Tami, last but not least, my dear friend Tami, who lives in Northern California as well.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, and it's an honor to be a part of the panel. As Susan mentioned, my name is Tami Anastasia. I am a dementia consultant, educator, and the author of Essential Strategies for the Dementia Caregiver. I have a private practice, and I provide emotional support, dementia guidance, and care strategies for families caring for a loved one with dementia. And I also facilitate twice monthly caregiver support groups virtually. And it's a pleasure being here. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us.
And now I'm going to introduce our distinguished guests. And I mean that because together they've been married over 100 years, is what I said. And I'm just so impressed with their love for each other. I guess next week is Valentine's Day, but I'm going to start with Gerda and Peter Saunders, who live in Utah. Please introduce yourselves and share with the audience a few words. Unmute. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm Gerda Saunders, and I'm the one who has dementia. I used to work at the University of Utah. I taught in the gender studies program in English department. I taught writing, among other things, and the theory of gender and so on. And I retired from there. Oh my goodness, is it now? It must be something like 12, 13 years ago by now. Because of my dementia, I was just not in a position to be in a program. I was at the administrative director of the administration, and so I resigned, and we started retiring, and then I wrote a book called Memory's Last Breath, Field Notes on My Dementia. And then Peter and I were in a PBS film about dementia. It's called Gerda's, what is, I can't remember, the video, the documentary.
The Gerda That Remains.
Okay, yeah. And of course, Peter's going to introduce himself, but this is him. He's the caregiver of everything. And I'm so grateful for him.
Well, I'm Peter, and I'm an ex-computer type. So I worked with computers my whole life, since way before they even were made of metal. And but I'm retired now. I had my 77th birthday 4 days ago. So another horrible year to enjoy. But anyway, and we live in Salt Lake City. We're from South Africa. We've been here for like 41 years now. So we've been here for a long time. And I'm also a bit of an inventor.
Oh, a bit of an inventor. He has over 100 patents in information and what is it called?
Payment systems. So
payment systems.
when you pay with your credit card and a chip and all that, I've got a lot of patents around that.
Congratulations. And I need to mention that both Gerda and Dan are authors. So I'm going to now ask Dan Gibbs and Lois Seed to share with the audience a few words about yourselves, please.
Yeah, I am a retired neurologist. I'm 73. And in retrospect, probably the first sign of my impending Alzheimer's, was when I started to lose my sense of smell back in 2006. But I didn't actually make the connection until I accidentally found out that I have 2 copies of the APOE4 allele in 2012. And so I retired in 2013 and still was cognitively intact. By 2015, I had measurable mild cognitive impairment. And now I have, I would say mild dementia, mild to moderate dementia. And I've been in, I think, 8 or 9 research studies. And I've written 2 books. Tattoo on My Brain was the first one. And then more recently, Dispatches from the Land of Alzheimer's. Anything else to say? Oh, you can. Say about yourself.
Okay, I'm Lois, the spouse, uh, caregiver, I guess. It just occurred to me the other day that, yeah, Dan is kind of living in an assisted living, and I'm the assistant here.
Yeah.
It's going pretty well. I'm a retired librarian. We've lived in Portland and in this house for 38 plus years, almost 39 years. We have 3 adult children, all of whom also live. Did I say we're in Portland?
Yeah.
Portland. All of whom also live in Oregon. 2 of them and their spouses and kids live close, within 15 minutes. And our youngest lives in Corvallis, which is about an hour and a half south of us, and they have 1 little boy. So that's an important thing, that we have family close by. And we're a close family. We all get along great, in-laws. We see our Portland grandchildren often. So that's important. We have a really pesky, needy dog whom we adore, and that also takes up a good bit of our time and a lot of caregiving energy.
And emotional support
For
all of us.
Well, I don't know about that. Adds a little stress to our life, as well as companionship. Okay.
Well, big hearts to everybody. And I know we'll get to hear about Gerda and Peter's children as well, because I always enjoy hearing those stories. I'm going to start with Monica, and Monica is just going to ask some really open-ended questions to share with the audience a little insight into what your lives are like and your challenges and all the wonderful things that you also get to enjoy. But go ahead, Monica. I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to thank both of our couples for being here. It is so important that we have both of you here and that you're willing to be voices. I think that is really one of the big things that we need as a society, to be able to help educate people on this disease. So I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart that you're both willing to be able to be here and to share your stories. So my question really comes down to the world of your relationships. I'd like for each of you to speak a little bit about the changes in your relationship roles. How have those been modified and tweaked since the dementia diagnosis?
Well, I can say the things I don't do anymore, which is the financial stuff. I can't even balance the checkbook. And that's just been the last year or so, right? Or maybe 2 years?
Maybe 2 years.
2 years. And Lois does all the cooking and meal planning. I can't plan anything. And I never was a great cook, right?
Right.
But I did do more of that stuff than I can do now.
Yeah, for sure. Driving?
Yeah, drive. Lois does driving now, not surprisingly. And just about everything.
Just all the maintaining the family calendar, just keeping track of stuff, remembering stuff. He really can't do any of that anymore.
Great. And then Gerda and Peter, how has the dementia diagnosis changed your relationships and the roles that you both had historically?
Well, I just first want to say, I would say everything that Dan and Lois said. In my case, I had needed Peter's help with my financials, I think probably 10 years ago. And I still participate in it, but I have long ago stopped managing it myself. And as far as household things go, I still do a lot of little things in the house. I'll talk about it later in what I'm going to read, but I can no longer manage the cooking really. So when we were younger, we were great. It was just our thing to entertain. We just loved it, and we would invite the whole neighborhood for a just for a neighborhood get together, and I would cook all the food, despite the fact that I still had a job at the time at the university. so I, and as far as that's concerned, I can't, but I do prepare almost every day. I do prepare a main meal, but it consists of very often pre-prepared foods, and Peter makes us a wonderful salad. Every day we have salad. I have more salad than other food every day, and then he really takes care of all the external things. I don't manage it all in the outside world. I stopped driving, well, about 6 months after I had my dementia diagnosis, when I crashed into somebody's parked car, reversed, tried again, and crashed into the other car next to it. And on that very day was my last day of driving. So I'm very dependent on Peter for getting places, but fortunately for him, I don't want to go places anymore. I really like being at home. It just feels safe and familiar at home, and doing the things that I can still do. But I would not have even a life without Peter. And my kids. I forgot. I felt so bad when Lois mentioned the kids, and I said, how could I forget my children? And they have become aware of some difficulties that we have, and we don't want them to do things for us, daily things. But despite us saying we don't want it, my daughter-in-law has brought fresh cooked meal here a few times, and my daughter picks me up once a week to take me to the mall so I can walk there. And we have coffee, and so I'm very, very grateful for the children. But both of them at the moment are between jobs. They have jobs that they're going to go to. They just had a break, so I told them, well, once their jobs begin, there will be no such thing.
And Peter, if I can just ask you, how has it been for you assuming some of these roles, the things that Gerda used to do that now you are assuming those roles? How is that for you?
Right, yeah. So I think that it certainly changed my life quite a lot. I've always been rather arrogant and impatient and aggressive, I guess. And I've just, it's just not possible. Lucky for me, I'm retired, so that makes it easier for me. But I just have to, be careful and, try to see what Gerda can and cannot do. She cannot get on the phone and make an appointment. So she gets me on the phone, which is a big deal with if it's the bank or the doctor, because they got all these legal questions I must ask, all that. But anyway, we get through that. Our life has become much quieter. We don't go out so much. We still go out, but not so much with other people. So, and I don't know about you guys, Dan and Lois, but Gerda cannot manage too well with a lot of people. So maybe with 4 people we enjoy ourselves, but once it becomes more than that, then she just basically closes down and doesn't participate much in the.
But
Yeah, same for us.
Those 4 people must know that they must each speak in turn.
Yeah.
And we have amazing friends and our children. Our grandkids don't do so well about that, but they try. So so in that way, our life has shrunk a lot.
I'm just sitting here, and it just touches my heart that both of the couples here, it's just profound how you support each other, and that doesn't always happen out there. Everyone's situations are so different in the dynamics. And I wanted to ask Peter and Lois, because as you move forward, things, more of it's on your shoulders as the family caregiver. And you're thinking for you're kind of taking on for two brains. You're thinking at the same time for two people. And that's heavy. That can be very heavy at times. How does that affect you? And let's just ask, how does that affect you? And what do you notice when you're off balance or something is challenging? And I'll just kind of ask a few questions along the way.
Well, I guess I can start. When we met with Peter and Carita the other day, Peter mentioned how he's become increasingly patient, and I feel like I really fall short. I don't think I'm a model caregiver by any means because I am not very patient, and I am still trying to keep things as normal as possible. And in a lot of cases, it gets pretty frustrating when we can't be normal.
But it's funny sometimes.
Well, not that funny. Yeah. Um, right. So I am a great reader and a listener of audiobooks, and I bury myself in my books too. That's my way of putting my head in the sand at times. Um, and I have one fairly close friend whose husband is about the same stage that Dan is, and the two of us can talk in ways that I can't talk to anyone else, including our kids, because basically I don't want to worry them or stress them or feel like we're becoming in any way dependent or a nuisance for them or burden or whatever, which I think is mostly in my head rather than any reflection of how they're feeling. But it's just great to have at least one person that you can really talk to about all the little stuff and not feeling like you're just complaining about everything. So I try not to complain, try to keep things as normal as possible, but also just be aware we're still in the early stages. Dan is quite functional, and I really get it what Peter was saying about the large groups. Dan can't manage the large group, even a family gathering. He doesn't participate that much. I think you're still enjoying the family parties, but it's hard for him to follow a lot of conversations and
I can't disentangle the various conversations. And you don't realize that that's an issue until you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a matter of managing your energy for both of you, right? Your own energy levels.
For sure. Yeah.
Peter, what about you?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I mean, it's sort of interesting the way that, well, certainly our experience is that dementia sort of creeps up on you and sort of the work the effort that you have to expend slowly sort of comes on. So it's not like, one day everything's fine and the next day you have to do all this work. So it is sort of a slow progression, which is most probably good because, I think that, I mean, sometimes it's tough and, I get impatient in my head, but, I must say, Lois, in some ways you're lucky that, to speak to, to have somebody we can speak to. I sort of want to speak to people, but I have this thing that I don't really want to complain because I don't want, especially our friends and families to think that I'm asking for help because I can manage.
Right.
Well, that's an interesting point because men's and women's brains are very different, and women need to process, and men are, and you're in a position of you've always been the provider, right?
No, I think you're right.
Our roles are very ingrained that way sometimes.
But she's good at persuading me about things because she makes wonderful dishes for me to eat. So after a nice meat pie and beautiful food, then I'm ready again.
You also have a flair for fashion, I must say. And I'm so thankful, Lois, that you have that friend.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Definitely.
a special bond, and that's a special relationship. And Peter, the fact that you can see that you have gained patience, well, that's really nice that you figured that out, because the lady sitting next to you has a flair for fashion, and she's really appreciative of it. We
I
know.
know she
Okay.
does.
Well, I have to say one thing about Peter. A year or two, and not in the beginning, but in later years, the kids would say to us, "What happened to the real dad?" Never seen him so patient in their lives.
I have a question about your children, your families, because you have the gift of them being, they're close to you. And that isn't always the case in, some of our families that we work with.
But
So,
it's interesting, Lisa. So, the kids know and understand the issues of Gerda's dementia, but they don't really, because they don't live. But the other day, when it was on Sunday, I think it was, Marissa, our daughter, came over, and we were chatting, and Gerda said, "Okay, would you like some coffee?" And so, Marissa said yes. And we were sitting at the kitchen table, at the counter. And so Gerda went to make the coffee. And so
In front of their eyes.
yeah, so basically, okay, the way we make the coffee is we put a little milk in the cup and then heat up the milk and then put the coffee in and fluff it up with a little fluffer. But so Gerda takes a long time to do this. First of all, she cannot do more than one cup at a time. And second of all, she'd go to the microwave to heat the milk, and then she'd say, she'd sort of take a while to figure out which button to push. And when she makes the coffee, she struggles. And so, a couple of minutes into this, Marissa said, "Mom, can I help you?" And so I said to her, "Mom can do it. This is just the way that she does it right now." So that, I think, it's those sort of moments where, perhaps the kids can understand what's really going on.
right. Yeah, it is an education. I always say the only ones that really understand what's happening are the ones that live with it in the household. And it's the day in, day out. Do you find yourselves ever trying to protect your kids from it, or is it an education process for them?
Oh, for me, it's protect, definitely. Our kids they're in their mid to late 30s, and our son's in his early 40s. They're extremely busy with their careers and their young families and their home issues. And, just they're all doing very well. But it's just the normal life of, being that age. And I just want to make things as smooth for them as possible. And I don't want them to worry about us. There will come a time, probably assuredly, that we will need more help from them. But I want to put that off as long as we can. They absolutely do know what's going on. And they know that this ApoE4 is inherited. And there's a good chance that they'll need to face that in their lives as well. So it's complicated, but we're just trying to make it as easy as possible.
No, I mean, it's true, Lois. And in the same with me, I also try to, do the things instead of asking the kids or getting them involved. But I must say that what we have done is we've made them clearly aware of what's going on. We've involved them with everything, and we've set up. I've got all the documents of, what's where and how it works and our wishes for death and so on. And so we sat down the whole family and we talked through this, and we've had a number of sessions like this when we updated. So, and I put all the stuff on a little memory stick, and and give them each one of those memory sticks so that they've got access to everything. So should I die, for example, before Gerda, then I've I've written up the kind of things that she likes to do, doesn't like to do, and her stuff. And I've got all my passwords in a password manager so they can, I mean, when you die, it's a big job to figure out what the hell is going on, right? So we just try to make that easy and discuss it with them.
Yeah.
Well, it just pulls at my heart. I would be one of your children any day, any of you, from the librarian Lois, or from the inventor, Peter. Your children are just so blessed. Just so blessed. What incredible parents and what great role models. What great role models you are for everybody else. I'm going to throw it to Melissa now. She has some questions for you.
Yeah, so Gerda, you were telling us that you stopped driving because of the accident. I was curious with Dan, where was the decision made for that? Because we have a lot of questions about that. So with the driving, what made you stop? Was it your wife, the doctor? Did you choose?
I can speak to that. I can speak to that. Our youngest daughter, who does not live in Portland, I noticed was fairly often asking me how dad's driving was. And I started getting the feeling that her siblings, whose children we drive, may be getting nervous, but not wanting to communicate that to us. And so there was a time last spring when I just said, okay, I told everyone, he's not driving the grandchildren anymore. I will do all of the grandchildren driving. And I think everyone was relieved. We hadn't had any trouble, no trouble at all. In fact, I think he's still a good driver, but I do all the night driving because his night vision isn't good, and all the grandchildren driving. When we get in the car, I just get in the driver's seat now. It just seems easier. And unlike, I think, some people, maybe men more than women, who are very resistant to giving up driving because of issues of independence or whatever, Dan doesn't mind having someone drive him. So that's been easy for us, an easy transition.
Yeah, and so you're fortunate for that. Like you said, there are some people that we have to get the doctor to send something to the DMV or have them go to a driving school. I did share a link in the Q&A for everyone. The Hartford has a great book on how to have that conversation with your family member, which is a great resource if you're needing to have that conversation, so it can guide you to be gentle with it. But thank you for sharing that piece. As caregivers, you have lots of things to do. You wear lots of hats, right? And if, Peter, if you could give me one thing that would help you as a caregiver that you didn't think about in the beginning, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. One thing that would help me, I think if there was some way for us to have a passport, a license or something, that when you call up or when you do something and you do it on behalf of your wife or your spouse who cannot do it, that you can say, hey, my driver's license number is 12345, or my dementia caretaker number is that, and then all the doors open for you. That would make life a ton easier.
That is a great tool. We need to work on that, guys.
That would be wonderful,
Yeah.
because I myself must answer all the questions. So they ask me when my birthday is. Then he writes it down for me. Then I say, this is my birthday. I mean, what is the point of that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all a safety thing. How about you, Louise? What's something that could have been helpful for you?
Well, I can't really think of anything specific other than what I mentioned, is just having support of a friend who is going through the same. And sometimes I can get ideas from other people about strategies that they're using. But I can't really think of anything specific. It's been a gradual transition for us, but also I think there may be some differences between adapting to caregiving as a woman versus a man, because I have done these same things really all of our married life, managing household responsibilities. So that hasn't been a big change. There are a few things that Dan has always done that have gradually transitioned to me, and there are still things that haven't transitioned to me. He does all the taking care of the cars. This is so gender stereotype roles, but he's always done taking care of both of our cars. And I still don't take care of the cars. So I'm going to have to learn how to do that. Talk to the people at the car service place. I've
Flat tire yesterday.
Flat tire yesterday. Dan took care of it, and I didn't have to do it. And just a few things around the house that still are on my mental list of I really need to learn how to do these things. But you get to a point where you just don't really want to take on any more things.
Yeah, it's exhausting. No kidding.
So I just put my head back in the sand for a while, and I
Read another book.
read another book, do another.
I'm right there with you. I love reading. Dan, what's something that you've had to adapt to since your diagnosis? What's something different that you have to do so that you can function every day?
Almost everything.
Yeah.
Is there something that sticks out for you?
One thing that has happened quite recently is that I, language-wise, have kind of fallen off the cliff, so that I can't remember words from just a few minutes ago, and that has really affected my ability to write my blog. I have a blog that I used to write in pretty much every week, and now it's been a month or so before I've written anything. And right now I'm trying to write a blog about this new really hot thing that some of you may have heard about, the possibility of xenon being used to treat Alzheimer's disease. And I just have struggled with that because I just can't understand what they're talking about. So I can't, if I can't make it simple enough for the lay audience to read, it's really a problem. So I try different times of day. Writing it for me, I have to do in the morning because that's when I'm freshest. My brain's still working a little bit, but I think I'm just about at the end of my blog writing time. I think that's just about gone.
Thank you for sharing that. Gerda, is there anything that you've adapted since your diagnosis that you've had to change how you do it? I know he mentioned the coffee, but is there anything else?
Everything in my life. Peter and I were each very independent. I mean, he went on work trips or on family trips to South Africa, or work trips anywhere. And sometimes he would stay a day or two longer and just go lie on a beach or something. And I went to South Africa by myself. I used to make all our travel plans for myself, and we stay with family. So I, contacted each family member, divided the time up fairly between them, so nobody would fight. And so everything in my life has changed. I walk around with a handbag where all my stuff is tied with. Peter made me all think where my wallet and my phone and everything are on strings, so that if they fall out of my bag, then they're not lost.
That's a great tool to share. I like that idea.
And that happens. Everything like this happens for a big reason. You can guess. I lost my wallet. I lost stuff everywhere, and I still sometimes manage to leave something behind. But he's got me tagged. He's got my walking stick tagged. He's got my bags tagged. He knows where I am. I might as well have a little implant like a dog, because that is how well he follows me.
He big brothered you. That's what I call it. Good for him.
Yeah. Everything has changed. My ability to be the grandmother I want to be with my grandchildren has changed. I try to have something that I can individually do with each one of them. But that happens, I have one preteen left, but the other two are teenagers. It's very difficult to find the time, and I can't, I can't do it. We sometimes still take all three out for lunch, but that's getting harder. So everything in my life has changed. I used to be the most independent person in the world, and we still are, because he helps me just with so many things. But as Dan was saying about the energy issue, so I have some other health issues that take up my morning, digestive issues, and then I have usually from 11 o'clock onward, I can sort of like leave the apartment. But then a good chunk of my energy is gone. So then I want to spend whatever of the day I can salvage on doing desk stuff. And I've been writing for 17 years on a family history for our grandchildren. And I'm still writing it, but I get more and more off the point all the time. But I still like doing it, but I can't anymore. I am about to give up on that. I've almost given up on my blog posts because I love it to do that. But as Dan says, the memory, I mean, I have to print something out that I find on a website, information when I include. Then I have to have it next to me, and then I can put it in my blog, because I cannot remember from, even if the 2 pages are open, I cannot remember from, pasting here or cutting here to paste. Then I've lost my places and everything. So if one thing is on paper, I can find it. And that's how I wrote my book as well. Yeah. So I cannot tell you my life is completely different, but Peter and I still, in those times that I can focus on my stuff, we have separate lives. And he's still an inventor. He makes the most amazing things all the time. And he's in his office and I'm in my office. We meet now and then for coffee that we nowadays make together. So we don't have to make it over and over. So,
well, thank you so much for sharing that.
And before we invite Tami to join us, Herda and Peter, there's a comment from Judy, and she wants to know, Peter and Herda, if Peter is writing down all those wonderful recipes and learning how to cook all that wonderful food. So I think next up is a cookbook from Peter. Go ahead, Tami, please join us.
Well, that was a nice segue, because I was thinking, Gerda, I got to come over and have that coffee with you.
It's a quite South African taste.
Yeah. So my question actually is going to be for Gerda and Dan. I don't know if you can speak to this, but I think it's very difficult for people to understand the brain changes that occur with dementia. And we don't know what it's like to live with it. I don't know if either one of you would be comfortable to try to describe to us like the feeling, or I know, Dan, you wrote 2 beautiful books. Gerda, you're both so articulate. You're beautifully able to express. Can you describe in any way how do you feel a change in your brain? Is it mostly just the abilities? Is there any way to describe what it's like to have dementia?
Well, as Hertha said, you forget things immediately, and that I've really been recently aware of that I just can't recall what happened a few minutes ago. I can recall what happened when I was 5 years old for things yet, but the short-term memory, where before it's really been made permanent in the cortex someplace, it's gone. And this kind of comical thing has happened the last few days. I'll come back.
So TMI, too much information.
Oh, okay. never mind.
What was that?
I have to step in.
Uh,
Okay.
Well,
Oh.
I can say this both ways.
Too personal.
I walk the dog first thing in the morning before Lois is up, and Jack does his business. And when we get back,
TMI.
TMI.
Yeah.
TMI.
I can't remember what I've done with it.
Yeah.
Not the dog, but the stuff I'm not supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
And I look around for it thinking, gosh,
It's okay.
in any case, it's kind of comical because I just have, even looking back 5 minutes, I have no image of where
Yeah.
that bag of whatever is in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had two clients explain to me that it either can sometimes feel like brain fog, or I
Mhm.
had a client actually describe it to me that there was like the blind, on a window, and it felt like it was just kind of, overcoming her brain. Like the curtains are closing a little bit. When you notice the you can't hang on to information, is it frustrating for you, as your abilities shift internally? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it really ticks me off because
Okay.
I can't write anymore because of that. It's just really not working. But one of the good things, and I just find this to be fascinating, is that one's memory for music doesn't go away. And so,
Right.
I can, I can't always come up with the name of something I'm listening to on the radio, but I can sing along with it. I know what the next, if it's classical music, I know what the next notes are going to be. Whereas in almost any other thing in the world, I have no sense of being able to know what's coming next in the sequence.
Yeah, that's amazing. So once you hear music, can you feel a shift?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just that the music, I know what it's doing, and it's kind of a game because we have a really good classical music station here, and most of the stuff they're playing, well, a lot of it I've heard before, but the stuff that I haven't heard before, some of it's back in the 18th century, 19th century, but I could tell what the next note's going to be
Isn't that something?
because of my memories from history, from music that I've listened to in the past. Not, it doesn't have to be something I've played, but just that and this is nothing remarkable. I mean, other people have written about this.
Right, right. But
And
you're
it
speaking
probably
to the
is
power.
that memory, that music involves so many parts of the brain. It is much better protected than more focused parts of memory, like language.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you so much, Dan. And Gerda?
Um, what are you saying? Talking
So,
about how it feels?
yeah, what it
Okay.
feels like.
Well, it feels to me, I've never had a child or myself been diagnosed with ADD, but I feel exactly like that. I know exactly what it is because you're on one thing, then you're on that thing, then you can't find this thing, then you go back here, and you go back to the place where you last had it. Nothing happens. And Dan very politely said that it makes him angry, but I can tell you, it makes me furious, and a lot of that fury is turned onto myself. I feel terrible. It feels like a failure every time. And I try not to, I don't believe in blaming yourself for things like that, but you can't help but do it. So for me, then, I have my self-confidence is like a thimbleful, if that much, on a good day. I don't trust myself to do anything. I can't, well, as Peter already said, the phone calls, everything. And today my daughter took me out for errands, and I did so many things wrong. The worst one maybe was she took me 3 places, and at each place I did something wrong. But I finally got back. We were going to come home. And then I got in the car and it was raining at that moment. And I took my glasses off and put them under my sweater. So then I got in the car. I sort of sorted myself out. I put on my safety belt and everything. And after a while, we were already driving away. Then I noticed I didn't have my glasses. So Marissa pulls off the road. We stop, we search the car, no glasses. So now we go back to where we were to see if it dropped there in the parking lot. And so we go there, it's not there. So then we think, well, we better look in the car again. And so I got in the car again and I was in my seatbelt. So I loosened it and I lifted myself up to see if I put it between my legs or something when I took it off, after I took it out from under my sweater. And at that moment, my glasses fall out of my sweater. It had never, and then it falls into a crack in the car where you can't get it out. But this took so much of her time that was supposed to be just fun and coffee and talking. And I just felt like I just wanted to sink down in the seat and cover my head. Because it's just yourself just drains away just like that. And I know she knows, and she was incredibly supportive. But you know that what you're doing is causing other people trouble. That is the worst thing.
Is there anything she or anyone could say, or is there anything you could say to yourself that would make you feel better?
No, nobody else can make me feel better. I know that I'm not, I don't think that I'm not worthy as a person or anything. I just know that I cause other people a lot of trouble. And I say to myself, you can only do what you can do, sort of, and not always with a handshake, so although that helps. And I really do. I just, just pull myself together for a moment, and then it's part of my job to get over it. So.
Well, thank you, everybody, for sharing. And Peter and Lois, would you like to add anything?
No, I think so.
We talked about a lot of things. I don't have anything specific to add, no.
Okay, Peter?
No, I'm good. She has told you a lot about herself. I mean, I think, I know that her ego has been damaged because of dementia, and I am not sure how to help with that, but I try not to help her too much.
You're amazing.
So that she can still have some self-confidence.
But I have to tell you this about having dementia, that when your ego goes down like that, then your immediate reaction is try to restore it. And that is then you insist on things that used to be your territory, that you're going to do this. And inevitably, you make more trouble than you solve it. I break things. He picks up glass. So if people wonder why people can be so stubborn when they have dementia, it's a deathly clinging onto something that feels like a self.
Yeah. Maintain some kind of normalcy, correct? Yeah. Well,
I'm
thank
just
you.
going to add with Tami that the entire Q&A is wild, and it's by the way, it's not asking questions. It's just giving you all love and thanking you for sharing.
Really, all four of you, what a gift you just gave everybody, and you're all very special in your own way, and it's lovely to see the love that you have for one another, and more importantly, Gerda, be sure to love yourself because you are making a difference in this world, and we can't thank you enough. Dan, same goes for you. And Lois and Peter, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your absolute wonderful sharing.
And you're going to read a little bit, but before you read, I have a suggestion for Herda. Something to do with your teenage granddaughters is take them shopping in your closet, because I love that sweater you're wearing today.
I was thinking, want to see the pants?
Yeah.
Oh,
look at
fun.
you. That's so cute.
I told my granddaughter when I can't dress myself anymore, picking my clothes will be her job, because she's got an amazing sense of not fashion, her own style. This is not fashion, this is my own style.
You're a fashionista. I know that because I've met you a few times and you always look amazing. So can we start with Herda reading a little something?
Sure.
Okay, so this is an excerpt from a blog post, maybe one of the last ones I wrote. And I'm going to read, and then it's just over 2 minutes. So if you'll just be patient with me, then Peter's going to read the last paragraph because it's a note that he wrote to me. And it's called, "Give me this day my daily bread." When my mother was far gone with dementia, the only thing she got fully immersed in was food. She spooned and chewed while staring at her plate before going in for the next bite. I remember thinking, I don't want to still be alive when food is my most important pleasure in life. It is now 14 years since my own diagnosis. I'm 7 years away from my mother's age at death. I no longer get immersed in things that used to delight me. I've almost forgotten the joyful buzz of stepping into the zone. What happened to my life motto? Embrace joy as a moral obligation. I turn to a different moral obligation, duty. In ancient Roman religion, the word for duty was pietà. Yes, as in Michelangelo's. The mother's love for her son continues in the practical duty of caring for his dead body. My duties are less sublime. Give me this day my daily chores. Motivational speaker Admiral McRaven said, to change the world, start by making your bed. I make our bed with Peter's help because I promised, for better or for worse. I make him coffee. I remind him to take his medications while forgetting my own. My brain stingily squeezes out endorphins, just enough to get me through the next task. But my chores make my and Peter's microcosm suck a little less. That is, until I see Peter sneaking back to the kitchen to fix his coffee. I forgot to boil the water. I omitted the sweetener. I made decaf instead of caffeinated, or a combination of all three. As I approach my mother's age of death, I get the uncomplicated instant gratification of food. Give me this day my daily dessert, and don't talk to me while I'm eating it. Deep in my heart dwells a joy better than chores or dessert. Peter loves me. He writes me love notes more precious than endorphins. Give me this day my daily love.
All right, let's see. So this is just from a note that I wrote there. I want you to know that you are still Gerda, the most loving person that anyone ever gets to meet. You are an amazing communicator, except for communication faux pas that the two of us occasionally have. I love sitting on the couch with you every day. I love the discussions we have about science, art, life and love, and the strange people that occupy our world. I love seeing you carefully choosing your evening dessert that you enjoy so much. I love the way you dress every day, even just to be at home. I love the way we can go for coffee at the mall where I can watch your determined stride to get your steps. and then wander around the clothing stores. You have always had this work ethic. First do the work, then the fun things. You are as strong as Charles Atlas in carrying this burden. When the world gets heavy on your shoulders, lean on me.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Such love. And
Precious.
Dan, can you share a little bit from your new book?
I'm not going to. This is from the second book.
Second book.
Yeah, I've got a third one in the back of my brain, but this is from the most recent book, and this is the last chapter, and the chapter is called "Living in the Moment with Alzheimer's." When we are young, the timeline of our lives stretches from our earliest memories to our expectations for the future. As the cognitive impairment of Alzheimer's disease progresses, that timeline begins to constrict. Perhaps surprisingly, the first memories that start to go are the most recent. Where did I put the house keys? The consolidation of new memories in the hippocampus is impaired, while our ability to remember events from the distant past is relatively well preserved in a variety of cortical regions in the brain. As time goes on and the amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles spread throughout the brain, the distant memories start to fade. The memories most likely to endure are those that are associated with strong emotional content, but eventually even those start to disappear. At the same time, our abilities to look into the future and make plans become impaired as damage spreads to the prefrontal cortex. Eventually, in the late stages of Alzheimer's, we are left with life in the present, no past, no future. I'm not there yet, but I can sense the shrinking timeline of memories from the past and plans for the future. For those of us on the Alzheimer's journey, it is really important to embrace the moment and not dwell on the frustration of trying to remember the past and plan for the future. Others can help us retrieve old memories. Calendars, lists, and Post-it notes will help us minimize the chaos of the future. But happiness and peace come from focusing on the moment, whether it is hugging a grandchild, writing in a journal, working in the garden, or listening to great music. As Horace put it over 2,000 years ago, carpe diem, seize the day, and don't worry about tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I'm going to let my wonderful women here just conclude. I'll start with Monica, and we can just go around and say some concluding remarks.
That's not something I want to follow.
I know.
I was
Well,
gonna say
that's why I just gave it to you, because I'm trying to not burst into tears, because those were both so beautiful, and just the way that first of all, you're beautiful authors, you're beautiful writers, and to be able to share that with our audience, I'm just so grateful. But so Monica.
Yeah, and this talks to one of the questions that somebody had in the chat. Again, talking about the feelings that you both are experiencing with this diagnosis. And I just love your summary of it all, is that you're going to eat the dessert and you're going to, seize the day, and that this is how you're going to tackle this. And you're going to tackle this face on. And it is incredibly beautiful to listen to. Again, the four of you being able to be here and sharing, because this is something that lots of people don't ever have the opportunity to witness. And it is really, really beautiful. So I am just incredibly touched, and I thank you so much. And think I'm going to follow and find a really good dessert for this evening to really, enjoy the day.
I hope, first of all, thank you for sharing, but I really hope in those moments when you're having those struggles that remember that you're still spouses, and to take those little moments and still have dates. Forget about the fact that you're a caregiver and that you're someone with the diagnosis, and just give yourself the time to be husband and wife again, and do a date, drive-in movie, sit and watch a movie in the house, go get your coffee, but have those moments. Okay.
Yeah. Lisa?
I think it brings up a lot for me. from my journey. And the one thing that I did learn was, as a family caregiver, was that we can live in the moment with our loved one. And that is a greatest gift. And our presence is so important. I also have a theory of my own of that while you're still capable of, then you can create long-term memories even when you have short-term, your cognition is challenged. You're building, as I heard both of you talking, and all of you sharing, you understand what's happening. And that is so helpful because not all couples understand what's happening. They're more reacting than they are leaning in towards each other. And that will serve you. And Herta, for you to say when you get frustrated that and you're working your way out of it, that's incredible. And Peter, you're doing or Dan, you're doing the same thing. And Peter, everyone is leaning into it. And I just salute all of you. It's just so loving and beautiful. Thank you.
Beautiful definitely describes their relationships and them as people. Tami?
And since we're living in the moment, thank you, Gerda, Peter, Dan, and Lois. You gave us a beautiful gift today of yourselves, of your sharing. And this day was a special day because we had the honor of listening and participating and hearing from the four of you. So in the moment, thank you so much for giving us a precious 1 hour of your time. So we got to know you, each and all four of you individually. Thank you again.
You are such special, special, special people. And I said again, if you ever need another daughter, I might be too old for a daughter, but I can be a friend. I can be a friend. And I have to share something I know about Herta and Peter, and that is that they have a glass of wine at night and they cheers each other every night. And Peter said, and sometimes Herta likes to cheers a few times, and I just keep cheering. So cheers to all of you. Be safe.
And Herta, really, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I apologize.
No, it's not a problem.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening or afternoon. And I really cannot thank you enough for sharing your stories. It's just such powerful information for the community to hear. And thank you, my wonderful caregiver expert team. I love you to death. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank
Good
you.
luck to you.